Okay, so the other day somebody wanted me to make a tutorial showing you guys how I made my Halloween 4 bandage Michael Myers mask. The problem with that is it's a very lengthy process when it comes to like gathering all the materials I need, painting it up afterwards, putting it all together. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do that right now, so that's going to have to wait till later. But since I can't do that right now, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys a little tutorial I came up with on how you can weather your hands for a Halloween Kills costume. We're going to be going over weathering everything with paint, using several layers and different colors. Then after that we're going to go through and talk about what I used for the bandage and how I weathered that up and added all the blood. And just kind of go from there, so I hope you guys are ready to get this going. Let's do it. First off, I'm going to be showing you guys what we're going to be using for this tutorial. So we've got some cups to put our paint in. I just cut these down from what they were because I don't need super tall cups to do this. We'll just be putting a little bit of paint in them, mixing that around with some water, and go from there. Next, we've got some brushes for our paint. This one's going to be for the bigger areas just to get that done quicker. Then we've got a smaller brush like this. This is going to be used for the blood. As you can see, I've already got some red paint still kind of in there, so that'll work. Then there's this, just kind of add some texture into it once we get to that point. The paints I'm going to be using is just some simple black and brown acrylic paint. We're going to make several washes out of those and layer them for the dirt on the hands. Then we're going to be using this dark red, so you can see right here, we're going to be using that for the blood on the bandage. Then we got the gauze bandages for the bandage part of our hand where Michael's fingers were shot off, and he patches it back up. This one is self-adhering, so it'll stick to itself. You won't need any medical tape. You know, it really doesn't matter. You can use medical tape or do whatever you want. It's completely up to you. Then we got a little glass of water here, which we're going to be using to mix with our paint to create the wash. Alright, so to create the first wash, we're going to take a little bit of our brown paint and put some of it in one of the cups. About that much will do. You don't need a whole lot because we're going to water some of it down. Then we're going to take our black paint and just do the same thing we did with the brown. That should be about enough. Since we're doing the bandaged hand, I'll make sure you cover your first two fingers along with your thumb and around this area. So you're going to be covering this part of your palm, your two fingers, your thumb, and a little bit over here too, because this is going to be covered with the bandage and covered in blood, so that's not going to matter if you add a wash to that or not. Now that we have our two washes mixed together with the paint and the water, go ahead and take our bigger brush and start covering more of the area I told you about with the brown wash. So a good thing to do is once you have your first layer on, you can take a little paper towel and just dab a little bit. You don't want to dab too much so you don't take all the paint off, because as you can see, it's still going to leave that dirt effect to your hand and make it all gross and all that. And that's what we want, because Michael's hands aren't clean, right? He just kills a bunch of people, and hands are going to get dirty when you're doing that. So just go ahead and wipe it down a bit, like so. And you can definitely still tell the difference between the wash and what I didn't cover. Now what I do suggest you do is don't stop after one layer. Make sure you keep putting a few more layers of brown on there. Depending on how dirty you want them, I'm going to go about maybe 3 layers, and we'll see where we go from there. Now that I have my 3 layers of brown on there, we're going to go ahead and switch to the black and add some of that, like so. Now something I also didn't mention is that you're definitely going to want to make it as dirty as you can around the nails. Like we did with the brown, you're just going to dab some of that off, like so. So now we're going to move on to the bandage. The way to do this is to put the bandage right over your 2 fingers, come back around, close it off, then you're just gonna wrap it around. And the best way to do this is turn it like that, like it is in the movie, and just cover your fingers like so. You want to make sure to go around your wrist and definitely cover these fingers. Make sure you do that. Now I'm going to take my scissors and cut from what I don't need. Be careful though, because you don't want to cut yourself. And just take where you cut. And place it down like so. And remember, you're supposed to be missing your 2 fingers, so you definitely want to make sure you get those as covered as possible. Moving on to the blood, something I like to do is take some of the red just by itself and dab some where the fingers would be, like so. It's definitely okay if you get some blood right here on your other finger, because it's supposed to be all bloody and gory, right? So it's definitely not going to look pretty. Another thing you should do is kind of taper it down and get lighter as you go, because this blood's going to drip through the bandages. It's not just going to stay where it was. Now that you have all that blood on there, something else that I like to do is to take some red and mix it with the smallest amount of black to make a darker tone, because we're going to layer that on to what we already have to make it look a little bit more realistic. Now you want to make sure you really go in there with this darker color on the parts where the fingers would have been missing. So go there, and like we did before, just kind of add it where you need to, taper it down in some places. You really just want to break up that bright red to get it a more natural look. Alright, you got your bloody Halloween Kills bandaged Michael Myers hand.